The topic is lots of people who are new to Save Our Sleep with a brand new newborn ask the same question. How do the awake windows work? So this is how the awake windows work. So the question is, I can't keep my baby awake for the full awake windows. How do I manage it? Now, in the Save Our Sleep book, on page 119, there is tips. These tips are for all the routines, not just for the routine before. Lots of people miss these tips because lots of people think that the tips are for the routine prior to the tips. That's not the case. Those tips are for all the routines in the early days. So lots of people miss those tips, okay? And those tips are very important. Now I'm going to talk through the awake windows, which is also covered in the tips. One of the tips is it's all right for your baby to sleep during their awake time, just not in bed. So what I want to talk to you about today is a brand new newborn baby and following the routines with a newborn baby. I often get emails from people who ask a question like, in the routine it says get your baby up at 7 a.m. and then it says to put your baby back down to bed at 8:15. But what do I do in the hour and 15 minutes? And I often think it's so obvious that this person hasn't had their baby yet and they're asking this question because they're thinking about the baby that they're going to have in the future. Because if you have had your baby, you send this question. In the routines, you say get the baby up at 7 a.m. and then you say put the baby back down at 8:15 for their sleep. I can't get everything done in an hour and 15 minutes. How am I meant to do all of this stuff? Feed, wind, change the baby in an hour and 15 minutes. So before people have their baby, they look at the routine and it says feed the baby for... Now I'm talking about a baby established on milk. In the early days, before your milk is in, you will feed your baby for 3 minutes every 3 hours for the first day, 6 minutes every 3 hours, that's a whole other video for the second day, and 9 minutes for the third day. That is a whole other video which I will do at another point. This one, I'm talking about a baby, let's say of 2 weeks old, your milk's in and you're following the routines. People will look at the routine and they will think, you say get the baby up at 7, put the baby back down at 8:15. You're saying to feed up to 25 minutes at this age on each breast. That's 50 minutes feeding. But then there's another 20 minutes or 25 minutes awake time. What do I do with that awake time? Well, if you actually had your baby, you'll understand it's very different because you can fill the full hour and 15 minutes like this. You get your baby up at 7 a.m. You might decide to change their nappy before you start feeding them. You then start feeding them. They then have a little posset, maybe a little bit of vomit comes up. You then need to change their clothes. You then might need to, you put them back on the breast. It then says to wind them every 3 minutes. You get them off and you start winding them. You then might discover that they've done a big breastfeeding poo, which could go the whole way up their back, or it might just go slightly through and get their bodysuit and their baby grow. Then you've got to change their clothes. You might have a baby boy. You might start changing his nappy. He might, as soon as you take his nappy off, here's a tip. With a baby boy, take their nappy, open their nappy to the fresh air. Allow their wee man, as we used to call it in Ireland, their penis, let's say their wee man, allow it touch the fresh air. When it touches the fresh air, they pretty much will start to wee. So open the wet nappy. Let it touch the fresh air. Close the wet nappy again over them, as in just with your hand. Close it down. Don't seal it again with the tabs. And they will wet it. This is a good tip. They're then going to wet the nappy. And then you change the nappy after they've done that little wee-wee. If you don't do that, they're going to do, as soon as you take the nappy off, they're going to wee. It's going to go all over their baby grow and their bodysuit. You've got to do a full change. So the time goes really quickly with your newborn baby, okay? You wonder how you're going to fill the hour and 15 minutes. You will fill it. Believe it or not, you will fill it. You think you won't, but you breastfeed, you burp them, you breastfeed, you change them, you breast, okay? So you'll fill it. Now, the wake window is really confusing for some people because they're thinking, when my baby is supposed to be awake, my baby's asleep. And then when I put my baby down in their cot when they're supposed to be asleep, they're awake. And I don't know what to do. The routine's not working and I'm going to throw the book away and I'm going to give up. This is not how it works. What happens is your baby's awake time is when they are out of the cot and they are unwrapped. So if I say get your baby up at 10 a.m. and keep them up till 11:15 a.m. This is a breastfeeding baby who's about 2 weeks old we're talking about. Yeah. Their awake time is the time they are not in the cot. So you get them out of the cot at 10, you put them back in the cot at 11:15. That is their awake time. Even if they are dream feeding, you will find a baby of 2 weeks old, even 4 weeks old, will be breastfeeding with their eyes closed while they look like they're asleep. This is still classed as awake time, okay? You may put them down like on a play gym and they'll look like they're asleep, but their arms and legs are moving, like they'll keep startling, moving. This is their awake time. Even if they're lying in the play gym under a playmat and or lying on a playmat under a play gym and they look like they are asleep, this is still classed as awake for a newborn. Then at their sleep time, you take them, you change them, you make sure their nappy's dry, you make sure their bodysuit and their baby grows dry, you wrap them in the Save Our Sleep Magic Wrap in a Wrap. It's nice and tight round their tummy. You pull it very firm around their tummy so it wins them while they sleep. You will find with the Save Our Sleep baby with the Wrap in a Wrap, as you lift them up, they burp. This is because it wins them while they sleep. When you wrap them up and you put them in bed, that is their sleep time. Even if they're lying there with their eyes open and they're looking around the room, we still class this as asleep. So we class awake when they are up, out of the cot, unwrapped. We class asleep when they are wrapped up in bed with the Save Our Sleep Magic bedding on them. That is their asleep time. Their awake time is when they're up and unwrapped, okay? And also remember, when it says put them to bed at 11:15, it means take them to their bedroom and start wrapping them at 11:15. It does not mean put them in bed at 10 past 11, so they're in bed at 11:15, okay? So this is the wake window is when they're up and unwrapped. The sleep is when they're in bed and wrapped, okay? The other really good thing to note about the Save Our Sleep Wrap in a Wrap, which you need to follow the Save Our Sleep sleep program, is many, many years ago, our grandparents, my grandparents, or even my mum, used to put babies down to sleep on their tummy. Because when a baby lies on their tummy, the mattress pushes in on their tummy and it makes them feel full. We don't do that anymore because we know that back sleeping reduces SIDS. If you put your baby in their bed on their back, it reduces SIDS. Now, my baby brother, Richard, died of cot death. And that is when I started the Save Our Sleep journey. And then Anne Diamond, who you can Google, who was a TV presenter in the United Kingdom's little boy Sebastian died of SIDS. And when Anne Diamond's little boy died of SIDS, cot death, just a little bit after my brother, she launched the Back to Sleep campaign. Believe it or not, Anne Diamond has said on multiple interviews, if she was living in New Zealand, the chances are her baby would be alive, because in New Zealand, they were playing an ad at tea time, dinner time, every night, which said, if you are putting your baby down to bed tonight, put him on his back. This could save his life. And Anne Diamond realised, and I realised, if my mum was in New Zealand or if Anne Diamond was in New Zealand, we would have had that ad on the telly and we would have known to sleep our babies on their backs, okay? Back sleeping saves lives. So we no longer put babies on their tummy, so they don't get that nice feeling of being full. The Save Our Sleep Wrap in a Wrap pulled firmly around their tummy gives them that nice feeling of full. So many people say, how come when I bought the Save Our Sleep Wrap in a Wrap and started using it, my baby slept so much better? Yes, it's to do with them being wrapped securely, but other wraps on the market also wrap them. But the difference is the wrap in a wrap is tightly around their tummy, which makes them feel full. So that's the end of my little video on the awake windows. I hope it helps you understand, following the routines with a newborn, the awake windows. I'll say again, when they're up and unwrapped, they're awake. When they're in bed and wrapped, they're asleep, regardless of what their eyes are doing and regardless of what they look like. Yes, they're not 100% asleep when they're in bed with their eyes open, but we class this as the sleep time. Okay, thank you all for listening.